Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay. We're back here for the 28th installment of my Road to WrestleMania series where I review each and every WrestleMania leading into WrestleMania 41 on the on April the 20th, and we're here for WrestleMania 28. Let's get it done. Coming to you live from Miami, Florida, April the 1st, 2012. And this is to date the most successful WWE pay-per-view in history, and rightfully so, because this is the return of the great one, the return of the people's champion, the return of The Rock. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? We've come full circle. We talked about a lot of passing of the torch moments. Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 3. Hulk Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania 18. But this was now The Rock is the master and John Cena is the newbie. The Rock is the veteran and John Cena is the newbie. The Rock is passing the torch on to John Cena, or so we thought. When we began our story last year, we talked about it, WrestleMania 27, where The Rock finally came back after being gone from the WWE since 2004. And he set the stage. He said that I will take on, the next night on Raw, he said, I will take on John Cena at WrestleMania 28. So we had to wait a year of build from that episode in 2011 to here in 2012. We build up anticipation. Finally, at Survivor Series 2011, The Rock and John Cena team up. They're the most charismatic tag team, they're called, right? Ironic since they're teaming up now, kind of, right? And they take on The Miz and R-Truth, Awesome Truth, and they win in Madison Square Garden. So that's the beginning of it. That's the beginning of the build. But we know what it's heading towards. It's weird because knowing the main event ahead of time, we knew what we were expecting. And you had your loyalties were split. Your Rock fans, your old school Attitude Era fans that remember what it was like when The Rock was on top. Remember his classic feuds with Stone Cold Steve Austin during the Attitude Era. And your new fans, your Kitty fans, your John Cena fans that grew up in the John Cena era. Two eras colliding with each other. It was epic. You know what I mean? And nothing else could compete with it. Even the Royal Rumble winner, who was Sheamus. I feel like they just threw this Royal Rumble win away because they knew nothing could compete with The Rock and John Cena. You know what I mean? So, like, whomever we get, it's not going to matter anyway. Let's just give it to Sheamus. You know what I mean? And like David said, Sheamus was really losing a lot, the year before, since he became King of the Ring. And, why the hell not, right? You know what I mean? So Sheamus is your 2012 Royal Rumble winner. And he goes on to face Daniel Bryan for the World Heavyweight Championship. Other matches that were really hyped up was a rematch from last year, Triple H versus The Undertaker. It was billed as an end of an era match. Basically, these three, because Shawn Michaels is a special guest referee for this match, they've come a long way. They've had their wars. Triple H versus The Undertaker last year. 2 years in a row, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. Triple H and Shawn Michaels have had their wars, obviously, before at WrestleMania. So this was billed as an end of an era match in Hell in a Cell. And the last time we saw The Undertaker or Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania. It was against the Big Boss Man at WrestleMania 15, and it absolutely sucked. So let's hope this is better, and it absolutely was better. Um, Other matches on this show: versus Rand, Kane versus Randy Orton. Kane defeats Randy Orton. Uh, Kelly and Maria Menounos, the talk show host, defeat defeated Beth Phoenix and Eve Torres. Maria Menounos, what I remember from her is like she looked like she shit her pants. I mean, she absolutely looked like she took a dump in her pants out of nervousness because she was on the grandest stage of them all. But let's talk about this Sheamus Daniel Bryan match. This match lasted 18 seconds. Daniel Bryan goes to kiss AJ Lee. He kisses AJ. Boom. And then it allows Sheamus to defeat him, right? Because of his distraction. And this is basically the outrage the fans felt from the way that Daniel Bryan was treated is the beginning of the Yes movement. This is where it all germinated. It can be traced back to this, right? So for 2 years, fans started to rally behind Daniel Bryan. People say it began in SummerSlam 2013 when he was screwed by Triple H and the Authority and Randy Orton. No, I feel like the Yes movement began here at WrestleMania 28. Team Johnny, David Otunga, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Jack Swagger, Mark Henry, and The Miz with Brie Bella and John Laurinaitis, and Vicky defeats Team Teddy. So this was basically, uh, two teams, blue and red, SmackDown versus Raw. This sucked, man. Can you believe how far The Miz fell from glory when it came to this? I mean, here he was on top of the world, facing John Cena at last year's WrestleMania, and here he is, Team Johnny versus Team Teddy, John Laurinaitis versus Teddy Long. Terrible. This next match was pretty good, and it would have been better if it wasn't overshadowed by The Rock versus John Cena, and that's CM Punk versus Chris Jericho. CM Punk had just began his epic run that would last more than 400 days when he defeated Alberto Del Rio at this. Yeah. David stole the words out of my mouth. CM Punk defeated Alberto Del Rio at Survivor Series 2011, and he was champion. And this match, and Chris Jericho came back, and Jericho was claiming that CM Punk stole his moniker as being the best in the. Because remember, Jericho used to say, "I'm the best in the world at what I do," and CM Punk was calling himself the best in the world now. And this match would have been good were it not over for the WWE Championship, but it was overshadowed by The Rock versus John Cena. So it was a good match, but like I said, how could CM Punk and Chris Jericho compete with you know what was they were up against, because that's the situation that CM Punk was in. It was like he's the champion, he's on this epic run, but every time John Cena has a match, they put John Cena above him, which is basically the gist of his pipe bomb promo from a year ago, where he said, "I don't get the recognition. Look with the Summer of Punk, right? He didn't get the recognition. It was all about Cena. Or he says, the fact that Dwayne is in the main event at WrestleMania and I'm not makes me sick to my stomach." That's all. That's all you need to know, right? And history would repeat itself at WrestleMania 40, actually. even when he left, went to the UFC, and then went to AEW and came back, history would repeat itself because Dwayne was still in the main event and he wasn't. To this day, to this to this day, 2025, CM Punk has still not main evented a WrestleMania yet. You know, I don't know if he will. Maybe he will at 41. I don't know. Only time will tell. But he didn't here. You know, his match with Jericho was good, but he didn't main event. You know, and we'll see the same thing with him next year. And The Rock defeats John Cena by pinfall. Now, this match was good. This match, I loved it. You know, I mean, everybody was on the edge of their seat. You had Machine Gun Kelly. You had David says CM Punk is not the greatest. Well, yeah, he's not. I mean, there are many other, uh, but I'm saying he's never main evented a WrestleMania ever. That's why he left WWE, right? In 2014, because he never main evented a WrestleMania. You know, his summer of Punk was cut short and overshadowed because, well, somebody texted Kevin Nash, and then Kevin Nash interfered on Del Rio's behalf, costing Punk at SummerSlam. You know, um, now that promo a couple weeks ago, this is about 2012, but it relates to both of them, Punk and The Rock. That promo a couple of weeks ago on Raw. Dwayne, you're doing this bullshit. you're doing you're doing this bullshit. That promo a couple of weeks ago from CM Punk was epic. I like that. uh, David says John Cena had The Rock beat. Yeah, many people felt like John Cena should have went over, man. But you know, they satisfied the old school Attitude Era fans by having The Rock go over. And who can forget that picture of John Cena just sitting there on the ramp, all dejected? It shocked me too. You know, I mean, I I didn't. I was watching it on pay per view. I didn't expect. I fully expected The Rock to come in as an outsider and put John Cena over. You know what I mean? Passing him the torch, like usually happens when an old veteran comes in, they pass the torch to the newer guy. But it didn't, David. We had to wait. I mean, it happened eventually, but we had to wait till next year. You know, so the Rock in his hometown, Flow Rider there, Machine Gun Kelly there, you know, performing. Everybody, I remember the time around this time, 2012. I'll never forget it. A lot of people that weren't watching wrestling anymore, that were Attitude Era fans, and they fell away from watching, they came back for this match because all my friends that they stopped watching, they gave up wrestling, you know, they weren't watching it anymore. They came back. They also was like, oh, I want to see The Rock versus Cena. I want to see The Rock versus Cena. So there was a true feeling of nostalgia surrounding this match and surrounding this pay-per-view. And no wonder it's the highest selling pay-per-view of all time in WWE history because it's it's The Rock versus John Cena, man. Boots to asses, fruity pebbles. Remember that commercial? I mean, that promo with that kid, you know, dressed in the John Cena outfit. The Rock, you know, he's doing his thing, and he finally came back into full form in 2012 in ways that he wasn't in 2011. So, so overall, this was a good pay-per-view, but the John Cena versus The Rock storyline overshadowed both the world title matches. You know what I mean? Like, again, yes, David, I was getting there. I was getting there. Um, the night after was another epic return. This was like the best 2 days ever to be a WWE fan because you had The Rock versus John Cena one night, and then you had the former WWE champion slash former UFC. He was fresh off the UFC, fresh off losing to Alistair Overeem. Was his last fight in the UFC. Brock Lesnar returns to the WWE. I mean, this man, the last time we spoke about him, what was he doing? He was being booed off the. Yeah, David says it should have been John Cena versus The Rock at SummerSlam 2012. Yeah, that was a whole lot better than what they actually gave us, which was CM Punk, the Big Show, and fucking John Cena. But Brock Lesnar returned to the WWE after being gone also since 2004. And during that time, just like The Rock was in Hollywood, Brock Lesnar was in the UFC. You know what I mean? Becoming UFC heavyweight champion, having the hell of a fight with the rematch with Frank Mir. I think it was at UFC 100. You know, and who can forget that one UFC where it was where that one UFC fight where The Rock, excuse me, not The Rock, Brock Lesnar lost to Cain Velasquez, where the Undertaker was in the audience and he said, "Let's do it." So people were saying now that because of diverticulitis, that Brock Lesnar was done with the UFC, he was coming back to WWE, and they were right. He did, and he shocked the world by breaking Cena's nose and F5ing him on the night after WrestleMania. Man, Brock Lesnar. I never thought I'd see the day when Brock Lesnar would come back. Believe me. So it was a great 2 days to be alive. Brock Lesnar back in the WWE, and I believe his second run from 2012 onward was his more dominant run. You know, that's when he became the beast incarnate because now he had the legitimacy of the UFC, something no wrestler had ever had. No wrestler had ever achieved that status of being a UFC champion ever. You know what I mean? Like you had Ken Shamrock was a UFC champion. He went into MMA, but MMA he went into WWE, but it wasn't as popular back then in the 90s as it became. At this point in time, 2012, MMA was the biggest thing going. You know what I mean? These MMA fighters, Chuck Liddell, this era, Chuck Liddell, the Brock Lesnar's, the Quentin Rampage Jacksons, the Cain Velasquez guys, they were becoming household names at this time in 09, 10, 11, 12. Chael Sonnen, Anderson Silva. They were household names. MMA, in many cases, UFC was bigger than WWE at this point. So for Brock to come back and now give WWE the MMA rub, that was amazing. And I remember that Raw, and like I said, he added that aura of legitimacy. So that's why he was more feared when he came back for his second run than his first run. So Brock is back, and we'll be seeing Brock again at WrestleMania 29. Now, I think, in my opinion, we'll be seeing the rematch between Brock Lesnar and, between The Rock and John Cena at WrestleMania 29. I was there for that, and I'll tell you my opinion of what happened in the rematch, and how the energy was totally different the second time around than the first time around. But I believe that the match that should have happened at WrestleMania 29 was The Rock versus Brock Lesnar in a rematch because from SummerSlam '02, because they had amazing chemistry. Number one, their match was great in 2002, and number two, here they are, two big mainstream celebrities. One succeeded in sports in MMA, and the other succeeded in Hollywood. And now they've both gone away from wrestling, and they've come back even bigger than they were before. That would have been perfect. The Rock versus Brock Lesnar, but they didn't go that. They didn't go that route. They went the route of uh, the once in a lifetime match, John Cena versus The Rock. They made it twice in a lifetime. But Paul Heyman is also back with Brock Lesnar as yes, absolutely. The Rock versus Brock Lesnar from SummerSlam '02 was great. They should have did it again, David. I thought when I first bought my ticket for WrestleMania 29 to go there in 2013, I'm like, they got to do this match. They got to do The Rock versus Brock Lesnar. I mean, an ex-UFC champion who just fresh off UFC, fresh off competing with UFC and a Hollywood celebrity as big as UFC was at that time. UFC wasn't like it is today. UFC today, most of the people we can't name who they are. You know what I mean? Most of Conor McGregor retired. Ronda Rousey's not there anymore. Brock Lesnar's not there anymore. Chuck Liddell's not there anymore. Tito Ortiz. None of these legends from MMA are there anymore, right? Most of the people we can't even name except John Jones. Like John Jones, Johnny Bones Jones, is the only big star that the UFC has. But in today's world, but back then, it was a new dynamic sport, and people knew these people. People knew who Brock Lesnar was. People knew who uh, all the because the Ultimate Fighter was getting high ratings. So you can imagine a former UFC champion and a Hollywood celebrity in The Rock at WrestleMania, and they already had good chemistry. They already had good matches together in New York City at MetLife Stadium. That would have been amazing. But for some reason, we get The Rock versus John Cena Part 2 and Brock Lesnar versus Triple H. And think about it this way. It would have been amazing, too, because when Brock Lesnar and The Rock both left WWE in 2004 and they went their separate paths, one to sports in the NFL and UFC, and the other to Hollywood, it was the last match they both had was in New York City. So here they're returning to the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area at WrestleMania 29, and they're having this match. I mean, that would have been something poetic. And we've seen throughout the course of this WrestleMania review WrestleMania review videos, that there have been poetic moments, like how Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels' career went parallel. As Shawn Michaels exited, Bret Hart entered back into WWE. We've seen that happen. So they had the chance to do that again, and they didn't. And plus The Rock got injured in the match at WrestleMania 29, and he didn't wrestle again until WrestleMania 40 because of that. Not counting the Eric Rowan match at 32. But that's it for WrestleMania. That's it for WrestleMania 28. The next one will be going back to the New York, New Jersey area, MetLife Stadium. WrestleMania 29, twice in a lifetime. John Cena winning the Royal Rumble, and The Rock ending CM Punk's historic 400 and something day run, 2013. And CM Punk will get his chance to end the Undertaker streak, and will be honoring the legacy in a match that honors the legacy of the Undertaker's manager, Paul Bearer. Peace, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, David, thank you for contributing. Love when you're here, man. You add such good energy. You add such good ideas, obviously. But WrestleMania 29, twice in a lifetime. The last WrestleMania that I attended, because I didn't get a chance to attend WrestleMania 35 when they came back to New York City. So the last one I attended 3, and this was the last one, 10, 20, and 29.